The life of Christ. 10. Continued travels and ministering throughout Galilee. Matthew 4, 23 through 25, 8, 2 through 4, 9, 2 through 9, Mark 1, 35 through 45, 2, 1 through 14, Luke 4, 42 through 44, 5, 12 through 28. The early rising and retirement for devotion. Mark 1:35, Luke 4:42. Was this an exceptional act? Can you mention other instances? The disciples seeking him urged the desire of the people to see and hear him. Mark 1:36 and 37. What does he propose and what does he do? 38 and 39. Luke 4:43 and 44. Extensive journeys and labors, his work and its consequences. Matthew 4:23 to 25. How far did his fame extend and what was the result? Healing of the leper, Mark 1:40 through 45. Matthew 8:2 through 4. Luke 5:12 through 15. Nature of this disease, how was it regarded under the Levitical law? Leviticus 13 and 14. What does the leper acts of Jesus and what does the expression show as to the way in which the disease was regarded among the Jews? Mark 1:40. And how was the cure effected? 41 and 42. What charge did Jesus give and why? What ceremony and offering of the cleansing was required in such a case? Leviticus 14:2 through 20. In case of poverty, what modification? 21 through 32. What did the man do who had been healed? The effect on the work of Jesus. Mark 1:45. Where do we next find Jesus and under what conditions? Mark 2:1. Distinguished visitors present and their purpose. Luke 5:17. Cure of the paralytic. Luke 5:18 through 26. Matthew 9:2 through 7. Mark 2:3 through 12. Action of the sick man's friends. What did it indicate? Startling announcement. Effect on the religious teachers present. What was their reasoning? Was it sound reasoning? Reply of Jesus and the sequence. What powerful and conclusive argument was implied in this? Was it supposed that any being could give the power to work miracles? Who could not also forgive sins? Effect on the convictions and views of the people. The call of Levi, Mark 2:13 and 14, Matthew 9:9, Luke 5:27, 28. By what other name was this disciple known? What important position did he fill in relation to Christianity? What had been the office and occupation of this new disciple? What was its repudiation among the Jews? Did Jesus know of the character of the employment? What did the man thus called to do? The practical lesson. Did Jesus choose his special disciples or did they choose him? Well, either way, we hit puberty and we can choose the way of our parents, some other way, our own working out of that. Same thing when you're spiritually called. Do you accept the call or do you not accept the call? That's a theme that I've talked about repeatedly here, but beginning of the second year of Christ's more public ministry, his second public visit to Jerusalem, the ordaining of the apostles, we find occasional allusions to the evangelists, to a party designated as Herodians. There is also very frequent mention of the scribes. The former compromised those among the Jews who were in favor of securing the title of king to Herod Antipas, the tetrarch of Galilee. This prince was the son of Herod the Great, and is the same one who imprisoned John the Baptist at the instigation of his unlawful wife, and afterward put him to death under the same influence. By unlawful, they mean incest, right? Or they mean that it was just not approved. Some are going to put this on polygamy. It's like there's no limit in polygamy in the Bible, except bishops are only supposed to have one wife. That's the Pauline teaching. But it doesn't say that people that are lower or higher in rank can't have multiple wives. He himself and his adherents doubtless had some hope that in some way the extensive dominions and power of his father, of which only a small fraction had fallen to him, might be restored. But of this there was never any even moderate perspective, as the Roman government had already reduced the whole region to the condition of a province, and the efforts made by Herod Antipas to enlarge his power ignominiously failed. But this party, during the life of Christ, were very active, and owing to the intimations and mysterious outgivings which were prevalent concerning the new teacher, they manifested an intense antipathy to Christ. The growing interest in the character and teachings of Jesus, the extraordinary deeds which he did, the messianic hopes excited everywhere, the fear that he might become the leader of a great popular party, the influence of which must be adverse to the claims of Herod, made it for their interest to create a hostile public sentiment by whatever means lay in their power. As the same kind of feeling prevailed in the Pharisaic party, which also was bitterly jealous of the increasing influence of Jesus, a coalition for the common purpose of bringing Christ into disrepute, was already effected, though the two parties were, for other reasons, antagonistic to each other. The scribes, as the name implies, Saparim, is that what the word is? Using the Aramea rather than the Hebrew pronunciation. Because that's the language they spoke at the time. Were originally mere writers or copiers of the law. Gradually and not unnaturally, they came to have such familiarity with it that they were often called upon for information or interpretation, and so in time to be teachers and to have authority. In the time of Christ, they constituted a kind of professional order similar to that of lawyers. They had, so far as popular respect and reverence were concerned, come to take the place of priests, though the chief of the latter still maintained an official dignity. The scribes were principally of the Pharisaic party, and as such were hostile to Jesus, whose natural yet spiritual interpretation of the Scriptures was utterly opposed to their technical, formal, and badly literal notions. We find them frequently approaching him with puzzling questions and misleading and entangling forms of statement, hoping to expose him in some way to contempt. We all know how at almost every point he met them with so much ease and disposed of their objections with so much wisdom that we almost overlook the fact that there had been any difficulty at all. It became necessary for them and for the whole party to which most of them belonged, if they would make any headway against Jesus, to resort to other methods. John 5, 1 through 47, Matthew 12, 1 through 21, Mark 2, 23 through 28, 3, 1 through 19, Luke 6, 1 through 16. Jesus goes to Jerusalem to attend a feast, John 5, 1. The impotent man healed, 2 through 9. The pool of Bethesda and the popular belief concerning it. The infirm man, the length of his sickness and the reason why he had not been cured, Jesus' inquiry and the answer. The word of Jesus and the effect. Rebuke of the man by the Jews and the ground of it. Verse 10, his reply. What was the force of the argument? Did the restored man recognize Jesus when he healed him? Verse 13, how did he find him out? The advice given. Verse 14, what does this seem to imply? How did the knowledge that it was Jesus who had cured him affect the Jews? What fault did they find? Verse 16, reply of Jesus, what additional offense did they see in this? 17 and 18. His discourse of the relation to the Father and the assurance of more marvelous things to come, 19 and 20. Assertion of his participation as the Son of God in the power and honor of the Father, 21 through 23. These can be thought of as metaphors that anybody can participate in, can't they? Because when somebody takes him as literally a son of God, that dude was exorcised. Are we going to talk about that? Or I don't think we did talk about that, did we? Or was that the case that we talked about? 21 through 23. Solemn assertion that faith in him is essential to salvation from eternal condemnation. 24. Every prophet of the age, that was it. You confessed that your Mazda Yasnahe Zarathustrahe. Ashadun la ilaha illallah. Ashadun Muhammad Rasulullah. You always testified to the messenger of the time and place. Explicit announcement of the resurrection and the judgment, their relation to Christ, and the alternative result. 25 through 29. The judgment and the witness of Christ, not in the human personality, but in his divine. 30 through 32. Testimony of John the Baptist and his character, a higher testimony found in Jesus' works. 33 through 36. What does he say to the Jews respecting the rejection of evidence? The character of the scriptures, the selfish greed of their worldly life. 37 through 44. Definitely you accept the revelation and the inspiration over your own personal philosophizing and conservative opinions if revelation and inspiration is what you're looking at. So, the selfishness of the worldly life, 37 through 34. That, and there's more than there's context and other information about the text too. So, reference to Moses and his testimony, 45 through 47. What did Moses say? Genesis 22:18, Deuteronomy 18:15 and 18 are the verses there. The disciples pluck and eat the corn by the wayside on the Sabbath. Kernels. They weren't eating corn, but what we would call corn. But the Pharisees criticize. Matthew 12:1 and 2, Mark 2:23 and 24, Luke 6:1 and 2. Did they object to the taking of the grain or to the violation of the Sabbath? Was it lawful for them to take the corn of another this way? Deuteronomy 23:25. What indication do we have as to the worldly condition of the disciples? Examples cited in justification of the disciples, Matthew 12:3 through 5. See also Luke and Mark. What was the case of David referred to? 1 Samuel 21:6. Further fundamental and spiritual principles adduced, 6 through 8. Mark 2:27 and 28. Cure of the man with a withered hand, Mark 3:1 through 5. Matthew 12:9 through 13. Luke 6:6 through 10. Who were the scribes? Their cavillings about the Sabbath, the Lord's answer. And remember, curie can be used for any spiritual master. And I think you can use it for the head of, a gathering or a country or a region or just the farm, lord and lady sort of way of thinking. But see, Matthew, had they any reply to this, or was any possible? How did their conduct affect Jesus? Mark 3:5. What did he do? What effect did this have upon the cavilling scribes? What did they do? Why were they angry? Who were the Herodians? Look back to the introduction. Jesus' withdrawal to the seacoast and the occasion for it. Resort of multitudes to him from great distances. Mark 3:7-8. Matthew 12:15. Inconvenient experience and how remedied. Mark 3:9-10. The effect of his presence upon the evil spirits. Why did he forbid their testimony? 11 and 12. Where in the Old Testament do you find the prophecy quoted in Matthew 12:18-21? What remarkable intimation in the last clause? What is meant by the statements in verses 19 and 20? Where's the prophecy that's attributed to Jesus that's not in the Old Testament? And if the Bible's supposed to be, as people say, well, why is it not in the Old Testament if it's supposed to be a prophecy? But that doesn't mean that something was, as much as the Jews were better at it by 2,000 years ago, they were rows, columns, letters. You ended up with 3 versions after that, but that was something they set up around this time. And they also, but there was still some changes. You find word games, switching things out for the same number value from one text to another. You find archaeological proof of some of this. The night of prayer and solemn preparation. Luke 6:12. What special importance was involved in the action about to take place? The 12 apostles selected, 13-16. Mark 3:13-19. Matthew 10:2-4. Give the names, the meaning of the word. Can you think of any reason why 12 were chosen? Zodiac, right? But 12 tribes of Israel, also given zodiac arrangements by position and stone. But continuation of his ministry, extraordinary power and efficacy. Luke 6:17-19. And there's, just because astrology is used doesn't mean they're necessarily worshiping the stars. So let's remember that point. Because the symbolic frameworks of psychology and the natural world are things that anybody can use towards their own beliefs.